research director and the patient care coordinator. So a lot of you have probably seen me in a couple of my different capacities here. So we try to do these Facebook Live conversations about once a week, once every other week, to talk to our experts that we have here at TherapyWorks about different topics that we know are important to our patients and our clients, and really just the community at large. So here with me today is Britani Baxter. She is a physical therapy assistant here at TherapyWorks. So if you've been treated here recently, you've probably, if not been treated by her, then seen her around helping you out. And we'll be talking today about back pain. So one of the reasons that we chose back pain as kind of, let's see, this is only our fourth one. So, you know, kind of while we're still getting started doing these Facebook Lives, is that back pain is just a really, really common condition. And it's one of the most common, if not the most common thing that we see here at TherapyWorks. So Britani, could you tell us a little bit about like, why is back pain so common? Why are so many of us feeling this?
Yeah, so the main thing is with the spine, with each vertebra within the spine, you have to think of each of those kind of where each vertebra sit together as its own specific joint. So if you look at it as being multiple joints along the spine, then that's going to be the main reason, is there's just so many different joints and so many jobs that our back has to do. For instance, I mean, it's the one reason why we're able to sit, stand, remain upright, but it also is the spine and the muscles around it are what allow us to bend over to pick something up off the floor, or if you're picking up a heavy box, the spine allows you to bend down and then straighten back up, as well as even just as simple as, you know, leaning forward to stir, you know, pasta or something that you're making for dinner. The spine's going to allow you the support to be able to do that.
Yeah, so lots of jobs, lots of places where things can go wrong.
Yes.
So you know, a little personal bit about me, I do have a lot of back pain, and that's something that I've actually been treated at TherapyWorks for. So I've not just been on the professional side, but also on the patient side. And, you know, when you first kind of start feeling the back pain and start, you know, doing a little bit of Googling about, you know, how serious is my back pain, one of the first things to come up is sciatica. So could you tell us, what does that mean, and what is that, and how? Just tell us a little bit about sciatica. Is it different from other back pain, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so sciatica is going to be a specific type of back pain. It's going to be most common, the most common diagnosis in the low back, because the sciatic nerve comes out of the low back, goes down towards the glutes, down the back of the hamstring, all the way down into the front of the shin and into your foot. So it's going to be one of the larger nerves in the body. And because there's so many different places in the body that it is, there's a lot more that can be done as far as different spots that tight muscles are compressing it, causing that pain. And it could be something where maybe, you know, the muscles in your hamstring or your glutes are tight, but it's referring the pain back up into your back.
Gotcha. So, you know, we are a physical therapy company. So as, you know, therapist, a lot of what you guys do, I mean, there's a lot of things you guys do, but there's a lot of stretches and exercises. And that's a kind of a cornerstone of, you know, how we treat. So in people who are just, you know, maybe just beginning to feel back pain, or who haven't yet decided that it's serious enough to, you know, talk to a medical professional about, what are some stretches that you would recommend to some people just starting to feel a little bit like maybe some twinges?
Yeah, so some of the first stretches I actually have some of my patients start out with are going to be like a hamstring stretch, a piriformis stretch, stretching the IT band, and then the hip flexors. That's just going to help to loosen up the hip area, so that if there is more of an impingement lower on the leg and not necessarily right at the back where the sciatic nerve comes out of the spine, then we can work to try to get that loosened up.
What does impingement mean? I know a lot of our viewers, that's not a word you hear much out on the street.
Right. So impingement can mean that the nerve can either be pinched within a joint. So that's a lot of times you'll hear like somebody has a shoulder impingement, and that's because muscles or nerves are being pinched between the two bones. But you could also have it to where like I said, the hamstring or the piriformis, which is one of the muscles in the glutes, could be tight and have a knot, or as we call it here in the office, trigger point, that could be compressing on that nerve, which is where you're going to get more of the shooting, stinging, burning pain.
Okay, cool. So let's say, you've tried some stretches, you're feeling better, and kind of getting loosened up. What are some exercises that you can do to strengthen such that it doesn't happen in the future or isn't as likely to happen?
Yeah, so with the back, there are some exercises that you can do. Some of them that we have patients do here in the office are going to be, it's referred to as like bird dog. So you're going to be hands and knees and then lifting one arm and then opposite leg up. It's also a common yoga pose as well. So we'll have patients go back and forth doing that. And that's going to target the back a lot. But another thing you can do is really just tightening the core and then the muscles in the hips and the glutes. Because by tightening the core and learning to engage those core muscles, it's going to help take a lot of the strain off of your back.
Awesome. So, we've kind of drifted into the sort of preventative side of things. So what are some other good ways to avoid back injury and back pain?
Yeah, so one thing is posture, whether it's sitting posture or standing posture. And that goes back to those core muscles. By engaging those core muscles and kind of helping keep the body upright, it's going to make those back muscles have to work less to be able to keep us upright. But then also just, especially if you're somebody who lifts a lot, whether it be your job or if you've got little kids, really just being conscious of how you're picking them up. Don't just bend forward and pick them up. Really use the legs, engage that to help you kind of squat down to pick it up. And then also when you're lifting, the closer you keep the item that you're lifting to your body, the less strain it's going to put on the back as well. And then another common issue is how you sleep. And I know a lot of us don't really have control over how we sleep once we fall asleep.
I sleep every which way.
Me too. But if you are prone to low back pain, adding a pillow between the knees and the ankles is going to help to keep those hips in line, which is going to help to keep the spine in line as well while you're sleeping. Okay,
cool. That was a really good tip about thinking about picking up kids. Because you think about lifting things and, if you're helping someone move, of course you're paying attention to how you're lifting things. But I imagine, do you often encounter people who are lifting children and having pain with that?
Some, yeah, we've got quite a few, moms that have younger kids, or we've had, grandmas and grandpas come in that have younger grandkids that are, they spend the weekend with grandkids and they're holding the grandkids more, picking them up more. And then they come in, Monday, Tuesday, and they're like, yeah, I'm really feeling more pain because I spent more time lifting grandkids. And it's like you said, you think the proper lifting mechanics when you go to pick up a heavy box, or people who work jobs where they're constantly lifting, think about it a lot more. But if you're just, you're picking up a crying kid, you don't stop to think about how you're picking up the kid. You just think about picking them up to comfort them.
Right.
So that's one place that we do see quite a few people have pain, but haven't quite made the connection to that being a lifting technique that they need to do.
Absolutely. That's a really good tip. So as we've discussed, a lot of people have back pain. I should have written it down. I saw somewhere that it's like 40% of Americans have back pain. Like that's a lot of people that have back pain. So obviously, you know, some back pain is somewhat minor or something that you can kind of stretch out, but there is some back pain where you really should come into physical therapy. And even if you can maybe solve it on your own, it would definitely expedite things. So how do you draw the line? How do you know when it's time to go and see a physical therapist?
Yes.
I'm going to mute for a second because there's sirens on my end.
So one of the main things is your back pain restricting you? You know, whether it's limiting how you're able to move, how much you're able to move, but is it also restricting you from being able to do things you love to do? You know, if you're somebody who loves to go out and golf every week, is the back pain keeping you from golfing? You know, if you are somebody who has kids or grandkids, is the back pain making it harder for you to be able to lift the grandkids or kids and hold them? It's also how long the back pain persists. If it's, you know, day 1, day 2, you know, I would say definitely try the stretching at home, try, you know, icing or heat, whichever feels better. But if this is going on for several weeks into months, then I would say it's definitely time to come in and think about getting an eval. But then also just the severity of your pain. You know, if it's, you know, if you'd say your pain's 1, 2 out of 10, you know, maybe once a week, once every couple weeks, again, I would highly suggest the stretching. But if you're somebody who's in, you know, 6, 7, 8 out of 10 pain all day long, every single day, then just adding a couple stretches in probably isn't going to get you where you want to be.
Yeah. And even if you're in 6, 7, 8 pain for one day, 8, 9 pain for one day, that sounds like it's time to talk to somebody.
Yeah, it's definitely
sounds like a problem.
You know, even if it's just giving your doctor a call and seeing what they say.
For sure. And I should also mention here that at TherapyWorks, we do also offer free screens. So if there's anyone there, you know, kind of on the fence and they're like, oh, you know, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but it's not a lot of pain, but it's been going on for a long time, or it is a lot of pain, but it hasn't been going on that long. You know, you're kind of on the not quite sure. All of our therapists do free consultations. So you can come in and get a free consultation. They're usually about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but it's a time where you can sit down with a licensed therapist and talk about what's going on with you, and they can make a recommendation. So all of our staff knows, you know, what is a physical therapy problem and what is not a physical therapy problem. And they've all gone to, like, all of our therapists have gone to a lot of school to learn all of those details. Brittany's laughing. You enjoyed that school, did you?
Just to kind of piggyback off of that statement about the free screens, the free screens aren't something where you come into us, you do a 15 or so minute consultation, and then we tell you to go back to your doctor to get a prescription for PT. What we do is when we do the free screen, we get your doctor's information and we send off their free screen and just say, hey, you know, this patient of yours came in today. This is what their complaints are. This is what makes their pain worse, makes their pain better. This is their pain range. You know, we recommend being able to eval and treat them. And then we fax that off to them, and then they can just send the referral or the prescription right to us without you having to go to the doctor. And then we'll just give you a call, say, hey, we got this in, and get you scheduled for that eval.
Yeah, that is a really great tool, because I can tell you, oh my gosh, anyone who's had really even any kind of minor medical problem ever knows like the bouncing back and forth between doctors and being sent different places and trying to get everything just right in line for exactly what your insurance wants you to do, and do it in the order that your insurance wants you to do. Oh my gosh, it's just a mess. But our whole staff is trained on like how to help you through all of that. So if it's not a PT problem, they can connect you with exactly what comes next or give you suggestions, you know, whether it's you really need to go and see, you know, someone who does more internal stuff, or if it's, you know, this can probably sort of be solved by some stretches, here's some advice, and we'll come back if it gets to be a bigger problem. Though hint, if you are thinking about a free consultation, it's usually probably bad enough that you actually do kind of need some help. Yes. But anyway, so I just want to let everyone know that that option is there. It is free. And like the worst case scenario is they say, no, this is not an us problem or not an us thing to fix, but here's how you fix it. So really good tool. So one of my last question that I have for you is, we talk a lot about it, I guess not today, but we in general talk a lot about, the earlier the better for treatment. And back pain is something that people tend to put off for a long time. And I am guilty of that one and now living with the consequences. So could you tell us a little bit about like why is earlier better?
Yeah, so a lot of times with the back pain, since so much of it can be tied back into posture, the quicker we get somebody in and the quicker that we can correct the posture, the better. Because what we see is that the longer somebody kind of adapts their posture around the back pain, the worse their posture gets. And then it becomes very hard for them to develop the awareness of correcting that posture on their own. But really, I mean, the other thing is just getting you back to feeling better as quick as we can. By putting it off, you're just prolonging how long you're in pain or being restricted from doing something. Where the quicker we get you in, the quicker we can get you back out to doing what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are great, but you're not magicians. So, a 7-year problem is not going to be solved overnight.
Exactly.
But, a 1-year problem, still not overnight, but a little quicker. And then, right. The shorter the time is, the better.
Exactly.
All right. So you've given some awesome advice today. And wow, we've really talked a lot about back pain, but there's so much more to talk about. I mean, we could go on for forever. I mean, backs are so complicated, but we do have a lot of other resources. So for instance, we do have a health blog on our website that actually just yesterday we published a post on sciatica and back pain. So if you're curious to learn more, you can look there. You can always give us a call and come in for a free consultation, and we'll talk about your specific case and what's going on with that. And yeah, just always feel free to reach out, because there's a lot of knowledge at this clinic, and we'd love to. I mean, I'm sure we could sit here and talk for hours about back pain, but you guys have got evenings to get on to, and I know that Brittany's got other stuff going on tonight. But so is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off, Brittany?
I don't think so. Like I said, the biggest thing is just, don't think that just because, it may not be as high of a pain as you think somebody else might be in, that your back pain isn't important. Each person feels pain differently. And if it's something that's been going on for a good amount of time and it's keeping you from doing what you want to do, don't hesitate to reach out. Like Caitlin said, even if it's just coming in for the free screen and we say, it's not a physical therapy thing. It's, more, something that we need to send you to a specialist for, we'll still help you get the help you need.
Yeah. And more information is never bad. There's no downside to getting more information, and it's quick, it's free, it's really low stress. So anyway,
and if it's one of those things that so often we also hear that doctors are so quick to jump in and try to do surgery. Don't hesitate to come in as a second opinion. Don't hesitate to come in and see what progress we could make in 4 to 6 weeks of physical therapy. And it could be the matter of whether you do surgery or don't do surgery. If we can prolong, even if it's prolonging how soon you have the surgery, that's still better in our opinion than everybody having to go out and get surgery as soon as they have an ache and pain.
For sure. All right. Well, lots of great information today, and I hope you guys have found it helpful. Brittany, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
All right.